The views expressed on Latitude Podcast are for entertainment purposes only.
If we look a little bit better, a little bit more refreshed, it's because we just came back from having a few days of relaxation. Most of it was a work business trip, but we were able to carve in. Thank you to Memorial Day. Thank you for our veterans and our current military having that day to honor them. But we were also able to take some family time on that day, much needed. And we want to talk about that and share that with you because I think it's really vital to get some downtime.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was great to come back. And the funny thing is, I think I even mentioned to you maybe Sunday as we were driving back that I was looking forward to being in the office on Monday. And it's not to get away from the family time that we just did, but I needed that time in order to, sometimes you need some time away in order to really appreciate some normalcy and some routines you have in life and just recharge.
I think it's vital. And I know a lot of people are experiencing some budget tightening, or if they aren't right now, they just came out of doing that. Thank you to the last 4 years of COVID that created an impact on people's pocketbook. So I thought this was a good way to share some tips that we've learned from having almost next to nothing and trying to carve out time away when we had really little kids, and then how that helped us, that ended up helping us later on when, we were able to have be a little bit more fluid with our funds, but still how we protect that. We protect it, we plan for it. We don't want that to ever get away from us. And I was really surprised by how many people are very last minute with travel, even if it's not even vacation travel. We're covering business travel, school travel, all of that. We're talking about all of that today. So I hope what we share is beneficial and fun. We're going to share some pictures and videos in here and some tips too.
Well, before we even get into that, I want to, one of the things I think is really important, and if you can't tell by the looks on our face, we're a little bit older. We're in the second half of life. We'll say that.
You are.
Well, me. Okay. I may be in the fourth quarter. I'm not sure, but we're in the second half for sure. So, but Trish and I both have different backgrounds as far as travel goes. And my family didn't do a whole lot of traveling growing up. In fact, I think I can remember really maybe 2 vacations ever.
Wow.
But I want to mention that because I remember the details vividly of those vacations. One was at 6, being at Disney World, 6 years old. So that was 51 years ago. But I can remember like specific moments of that vacation. And I mention that because I want to say, if you have kids, small kids especially, you need to make traveling and vacation a priority. And a lot of times, as Trish said, we may hear people, well, I can't afford that right now. And we're going to give you some tips later on about how you can afford it. Now, Trisha's family, you came from a much different background as far as travel. You guys would just pack up and leave on a moment's notice, right?
Yes, there were times where my dad, and you know what? I'm grateful that he did this. He would say, I'm leaving for Florida at noon.
Yeah. And y'all didn't live anywhere close to Florida. You lived in Kentucky.
We lived 15 hours away. So, but he had planned for it. Like it wasn't impulsive to him. He was just surprising us. He had the money to do it and saved it. But he also was when we did things like that, even though we did quite a few of them, it was extremely budgeted. There were no like we're flying to Paris, on what is it, Home Alone, and the whole family is going to Paris. And I used to watch that thinking, it's an extended family too. Like that is not typical, and that's not at all what we did. But anyway, I think the reason why we want to share this, not because we took a long extended vacation for months on end, we had a few days, but how much that is necessary. And, sometimes you plan for these trips and things go awry, or they usually go awry because you didn't take the time, or your idealization about what you're going to be doing doesn't really pan out. So we want to talk about that anyway. So we're talking about smart travel and vacation and staying sane. And it's not just vacation travel. We're going to talk about necessary forms too. So why do you think it's important to nail this stuff down? It sounds so frivolous. We talk about budgeting. We need to budget for housing, and we need to, try to plan ahead so we can buy a house and own real estate, so we can have investments, so we can have a retirement. And this is all extremely wise. Why in the world is vacation time, downtime, or just planning even for business travel? Why is any of that important?
Interesting question. So, I'm going to start with the psychological effect first. For me, when I'm planning for future travel, it actually gives me something to look forward to. So I think it's important because it keeps you focused. Even if the travel is 3 or 4, 6 months away, or maybe even a year away, it's something to look forward to down the road.
I think it's important because I think when people think about planning trips, they automatically think it's vacation time type of travel. They're thinking about airplanes. They're thinking about hotels. They're thinking of one specific set. But I think it's important to plan because all of a sudden, if you start planning, these options start coming to you. Okay. Like options, like there's package deals. Maybe that's a good deal. You should look up. Maybe you need to talk to a travel agent. Sometimes they have really great deals, and unless you talk to them and they can, group you up. So there's all-inclusive options. There's options if you have a credit card and you use it wisely and they're giving you points on different types of plans. There's all kinds of options that if you plan ahead, you can use those a lot more to your advantage than if it's very impulsive, or you just think, we're living week to week. We're in such a tight budget. We can't do anything. And then you won't do anything because you'll continue living that way. And it doesn't need to be like that. Sometimes we have, really severe illnesses, deaths in the family. We have a really, really bad business year. And yes, we need to economize, but we want to give hope to everybody. I think another reason why we need to understand to nail down like how to do smart travel and smart vacations is because I think we need to understand what our limitations are. There are times that you just absolutely should not be traveling. Like if you've had a major, major, major financial setback, both of you, if you're a married couple and both of you have suddenly become unemployed, no, you got to take care of your basics first.
Compass Sales Coaching is a proud sponsor of Latitude Podcast. Your success is achievable. Compass Sales Coaching can help you with details and plans to plot your course. Why not enjoy the journey and work with professionals who can help you with realistic steps, manageable career and business growth, and proven results? Contact Compass Sales Coaching today. Your journey to success starts here. CompassSalesCoaching.com.
What about like if you have a major illness that's, you really need to you won't feel like going, but, you need to be considerate of your spouse or significant other. If that's them, you need to see what are the options with that. What's going to be the timeline for that?
Maybe you're expecting.
Yeah.
Like we've taken a beach vacation with you being, 8 months pregnant before?
And that was not,
You don't suggest it?
No, because I understand where we were headed. We were trying to get in one last trip before the baby came. Well, at that point, it would have been better to just be resting, like really consider those things. I'm speaking from experience on the things we had flaws with and could have done better with. There are several ways to budget for travel. It's not just a one time, oh, we need to save like $200 every month for the next, 2 years so we can afford a vacation. There's way more creative ways. So I think that's another important reason.
And some trips just take a lot of planning.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we have on our bucket list is to travel out west in our camper.
Yeah.
Well, that takes an incredible amount of planning.
Tell you that we thought we had that nailed down and we ended up, we did not. We did not realize all the complexities of that because we live on the extreme East Coast. So traveling out west, and we wanted to do it not by plane. We wanted to do it with our camper. And we can't be gone for 5 weeks without working. Like we had had to be a part of that. And it just was not going to be conducive. And we also have a child still at home, and his activities were like rolling right into that. So I'm glad that we were able to stop our plans before they got away from us and we had to just redo what we did. And we still had a great time. So we were talking about budgeting. What are the types of travel that need to be budgeted for? This is your domain, the budget.
So, I mean, honestly, I think any type of travel that you do you need to have a budget around it. And, I do take business trips. I go back and forth to Florida quite a bit. Just planned a trip which was kind of fun, taking one of my kids to, you don't know already, I'm a Buccaneer fan. We're going to go see the Bucs play in Seattle, but that's in October. But we had to take some time to figure out, number one, I did look at different airlines going out there. That's a long trip.
Yes.
And then you start looking at airlines, and we do use credit cards with points. So I've got some airlines we could go at no cost, which is huge. But then there's other airlines. It might take 12 hours to get from here to there because you have to do stops and all of that. And I'm not interested in that. So anyhow, we're going to drive to Charlotte, fly out of Charlotte. It's nonstop. And the credit card's basically paying our bill.
Now, what we're saying about credit cards, we're not charging the flights up. These are credit card points because we have used our credit cards and paid them and managed them. So we're not paying all this excessive interest.
Let me just add a little asterisk to this because it sounds completely anti-Dave Ramsey, and it somewhat is. However, if you use credit cards, which I believe, and we should probably do an episode on budgeting at some point. But
it's in the works. That's in the works.
Yeah, but when you're talking about credit cards, I believe you use credit cards. You use it to budget with. You use it to put your groceries on, your gas on, the things you're already going to pay for. And if you tie it into, say, a travel credit card, you're going to get points. Just pay the card off every month. That way you're not paying interest on it, but you're still accumulating points. So, goodness, sometimes I mix them up because we have Allegiant, Southwest, Delta, and I just look and see, okay, who do I want to fly with, and we'll look and see what the points are on that. But our son and I are going to go to Seattle, no cost on the airline. So the only way I use credit cards, really, like when I talk about points, is to take what's already accumulated based on what we've used the card for, gas, groceries, utilities, things like that. And then we're using those points to travel. But, like that trip or any business trip, you should certainly look ahead. And when you we don't live in a rural area, but kinda,
yeah.
our airport doesn't go everywhere, and not everywhere flies into the Roanoke Regional Airport. So we have to look around at what other airports can we fly in or out of that might be easier, may not have all the mountains around it, which create a whole different dimension of potential stress or cancel flights or turbulence or whatever you may want to call it. But, Yeah, so we look at all those things when we're planning, flight trips. But then I think when you're driving on those type of trips, it's a little bit easier to plan.
We talked just a little bit. You can't just idealize that everything is going to be perfect. Like that's not the goal for this, that, oh, when we leave and go on vacation, then we can enjoy life. No, no, no. But so there's different, we talked about budgeting for, travel for business, for, you may need to travel to see family, and you should, maybe you've got kids in college that need to travel. All those things need to be budgeted for. So not just vacation and relaxed travel. We talked about that too. How about emergency travel? I think that needs to be put in the budget. Like you need to be mindful that that's going to occur. People get sick. People, unfortunately, loved ones pass away, and they may not be close to you. I have literally seen close family members not attend funerals because they didn't plan for that type of travel. So you don't want to be caught like not thinking this can't happen to you. It can, and it needs to be set aside. It doesn't need to be a big amount, but you need to include some type of emergency funds to cover that in your monthly
in your budget. Just put some in your savings account every month for a budget to go specifically toward travel. And it can be for a vacation. But again, we had very, very close uncle of mine just recently pass away. And, sometimes when that happens, you don't have a whole lot of time to plan.
Right.
And
so the emergency fund helps with that.
Emergency fund helps. And you've got to figure out quickly, okay, how are we getting there? Are we spending the night somewhere? The food that goes along with it.
Yeah, because you're not going to be cooking.
No.
I mean, there's not a lot of time to deal with that. So that's why those emergency funds for that type of travel is so important.
Right.
So let's talk about vacations. Okay. How do we plan for that? We start off by looking at where we want to go, and this is what we did when we really wanted to go out west. But this didn't happen because later on, as we were planning, and I'm so thankful, we saw quickly we did not have the time that it takes to do what we were trying to do. Like we just don't. So decide, where you want to go, but also you need to decide what is your yearly budget for vacations. Like you can't go to London for 6 weeks if your budget for that vacation is $1,200. Like that's probably very unrealistic. So you need to kind of converge both things. And, for vacations, we like to set aside a percentage of our monthly net income to know this is going for this. This is fun travel. This is not the emergency travel, which, that is in the emergency funds.
Thank you for climbing with us on this episode of Latitude. Be sure to click on our special guest, sponsor, affiliate links, summaries of today's episode, and more.